Chapter 3. The Mixed Colonies. It has been 10 months since my family arrived in Athena. The colony population has grown, with the humans reaching up to 50 million, the Butts to 200 million, the loonies to 150 million, and the Laos surprising increased and now stands at 250 million. This is the largest ever rate of growth for any human or Butt or loony or Leo colony. We expect that in another year, we will be triple our present size. This alone created pressure on our planet administrators to plan out colony settlements within our existing planets. The council named the colony as the Bhull colony and occupies a sphere 160 mly in radius. The colony has the original 3 Leo planets where nobody wants to live in and has not been named until the council decided to call the largest and most developed one as Leo 1, the second largest as Leo 2, and the smallest as Leo 3. The Laos actually just called them first, second, and third in their language, so the names make sense. Nobody wants to live in these planets because these planets were barren and have 30% water, while the other planets had at least 70% water and had a very diverse flora and fauna. This was important since a lot of humans, Butts, and loonies wanted to farm. The number of planets have increased by the addition of 3 planets. The Butts added planet Luli, the loonies added planet Beetle, and the humans added planet America, in addition to Athena, Soteria, Bidig, Artos, Leo 1, 2, and 3. The Laos did not add another planet but wanted to farm in all the planets like everybody else. All became colony planets, where people can just live in, without species restrictions. Planet Soteria has the Armada Academy and numerous military research centers where weapons were developed and produced. Soteria also had 10 separate bases for the 8 Armada fleets and 2 battle groups. One of the major decisions the Bhull Council did was to not make the planets invisible. The reason for this is farming. Normally, if you live in an invisible planet, you will see your surroundings with altered colors. Some become more colorful and bright, some change to an odd version, and some become less bright and odd. You can still grow plants, but the plants grow very slow since the plants must adapt to the change in light spectrum. Some plants cannot adapt and die. One of the consequences of the Bhull colony becoming a transit point for riots going into other dimensions is that there are always a lot of riots in the colony. To show their solidarity, they made all of the kids and young, half of the adult population, and all the Armada personnel telepathic. Over time, after so many riots going through the colony, the number of people being turned telepathic increased until almost all are. By then, the benefits of being telepathic is a given and everybody understands that it was the right way to go. They also made half of our strike and ground assault troops telekinetic. I asked them to do this for the Armada. I explained to them that since being telekinetic, it took me a lot of time to learn the simplest of things. I reasoned that we need to develop educational programs and weapons systems with these telekinetic abilities. And this will really take a long time to even understand. The riots understood and developed exercises to learn to apply telekinesis on different objects. I learned very early on, and John explained this to me, that you cannot just move things around. Different ways for different objects and purposes. So our people may be experts in moving objects nearer to them, but it would be different based on the object being moved. Now if you want to move object further, it's an entirely different matter and you have to learn this differently. The specificities in telekinesis are in the billions of billions. The height of telekinesis is to create the energy suit we wear all the time, because this means you have controlled the energy form to behave how you want it to behave. Some people learn faster than others, and this created tiers or levels of learning. Still crude and infantile, but inspiring. The Bhull colony idea turned out to be good for the participants. The society was more cohesive than expected. The species literally complemented each other. Binding them together were the human species. For example, the loony and human scientists have worked well together to create so much technology for the military. You turn on one side and involve the Laos, and the 3 would be a powerful team to develop civilian applications of Leo technology. You turn to the other side, and the Butts are good producers. The Laos and the Butts were the best farmers, and together they are unstoppable. The Butt psyche is much closer to humans, while the loonies are closer to the Laos. The best in continuous improvement performance would be the loonies. Give a loony a toy and he will improve it into an AI-controlled robot toy. One of the biggest hurdles we faced in the integration process was developing societal rules or laws. Besides the basic rules on everybody being equal to each other whatever species they are, we assessed our basic objectives as a species and came out with very few laws. It turned out that laws were created in response to certain problems as far as humans were concerned. Most of these do not concern the other aliens. The easiest way to describe the underlying social system is democratic cooperative. The whole colony is a cooperative, based on the Leo way of cooperative operation. The Laos do not have a financial system and explaining the use of money is very hard. They could not believe that we need money at all. All the things they need are provided for them. If they need to build something, people just cooperate to work on the project. If they need a house or dwelling, the people build it for them. If they need food, they have machines that make food for them. They have machines that build parts or whole buildings for them. When the idea of farming for food and art was introduced, they understood that these are requisites for their primary objective of being an energy being, after Mo explained to them of course. They enjoy farming and creating food, then cooking or forming the food to what makes them happy. They were in heaven when they realized that sweet food is just a speck of sand in an ocean of food from different species, and that this enabled them to experience things that their bodies were supposed to experience, and that these experiences feeds into the requirement for being energy beings. Everything fell into place for them. They now understand how to enjoy and convey art. But not money. Money does not contribute or make easier their quest to be the beings they want to be. In a way, the Laos were early mid-game in their quest, while humans, Butts and loonies were not even in the starting line. We were so concerned with providing for ourselves that we created a system that is both imperfect and inefficient. If a colony person really wants to get rich, they would have to do it in their home worlds except for Laos of course who never want to be rich. This further contributed to the Bhull colony growth, because entrepreneurs created operations in our colony but did business elsewhere. We insisted on their payment of use or sales taxes for all their revenues, where the tech came from the Bhull colony. The Laos have a given objective. The other three was not so clear. The three were concerned with survival and making sure everyone prospers. But that is on the material side, and the Laos pointed out that at some point, the material will become less and less. We could not say that the objective of the human race or the Butts and loonies for that matter would be to be energy beings. It is an objective that is so far into the future it is irrelevant in the present or near future. But we integrated species improvement objectives just the same. All of the species agreed to develop their brains in telepathy and telekinesis, but also realized that this will take a tremendous amount of time. We also realized that the future generations will embody this telepathy and telekinesis as part of their genes, being passed on and becoming permanent. Also, we find a lot of people exhibiting talent along the many different fields of expertise in all species using these abilities. Special subject and special schools were set up to handle these gifted people. Speaking of schools, we adopted the Leo way of learning, but with feelings and emotions. They discuss a lot of times on one subject. We did away with explaining definitions, because all the kids were telepathic and an idea is conveyed more entirely. The picture that has 1,000 words can be communicated in a few seconds complete with feelings and emotions. Science and math became easier to understand since the Laos communicate these to their young telepathically. But as far as the other species' ideas, concepts and science or math are communicated with feelings and emotions attached. For example, an idea is better communicated if the person trying to learn feels the urge to really learn and the emotion of achievement in learning is present. Now if you communicate telepathically, The person gets these feelings or emotions as if they were the ones feeling them, even if the feelings and emotions were not there in the first place. Consistent transfers of ideas or concepts, even the same ideas and concepts, with differing feelings and emotions, creates a faster and more enjoyable learning result. The funniest things also happen in these communications because the feelings are consistently in the form of a joke if a loony teaches you. The best teachers are the butts and humans because they can control their feelings and emotions, and can definitely transfer these emotions and feelings accurately with the ideas or concepts. The loonies are just too emotional and talk in joke terms to convey accurate feelings and emotions consistent with the subject. The Leos have controlled emotions and feelings, and are just now learning how to express these in many forms of communications. So they are not at all the best in this area, even if they can telepathically talk. All the species wanted to develop their bodies as they developed their minds. Since everybody is healthy, thanks to the Leo wave technology, the schools and the Bhull Council encourages physical development through various physical activities. The connection between mind and body is assumed and is studied all the time. The connection between telekinesis and physical improvement is also being studied all the time. The schools themselves are being studied. The hope is that we would be able to control our bodies using our minds to do things we want to do. Then we can control matter around us, starting with the big solid ones until we go all the way down to the energy level of matter. The riots explain that these objects will take hundreds of thousands of years to master each level. Unknowingly, we were moving towards the Leo goal. The riots explain that at some very advanced level of telekinesis, matter will not matter, except to move in vast distances in space-time. The basic idea is not to be like the riots, whose society is defined as 2 people and 3 means overpopulation. To not be able to bear offsprings, and to be able to die. The riots found a human quality that they actually were developing exercises for their own use. This is something they do, but are still developing their skills on the ability. They believe that they are halfway there, although they believe that it will take hundreds of years to fully understand and master the ability. This human ability is what they call remote viewing. The US CIA funded research on this ability called remote sensing for decades and created mountains of research enabling them to conclude that this is something people can actually do. The riots found this research and explained that they know these already and are far more advanced. The key is one of multiplication. It is normal for humans to see with some high probability of correctness one scene and describe the scene using symbols developed by the researchers. But it is entirely another level to even have several scenes and understand the connections between the various scenes. This means that numerous scenes can be stitched together and would show relationships in space-time. In order to master this, the riots created exercises and telepathic techniques to convey the scenes. They concluded that thousands of scenes if connected together will be like seeing the future, something they are on to already but do not want to divulge anything else. This study became part of the colony education program. It showed that this ability is not only human but exists with all sentient beings. Experimentation and research were done on huge populations and their minds connected to the colony AI, and this colony AI tried to piece or connect and relate together the remote sensed events or scenes. For months, the results were confusing until Olive came and transferred her knowledge to the colony AI. Chris has always had Olive as her AI in the space station for artists. Since there were space stations allocated for artists in 3 Leo colonies, the Olives were also connected through the TP network. It was an improvement, but not a lot since there were huge missing scenes. The AI actually asks the remote sensing subject questions about possible scenes, and the subject tries to get the scenes right, but not all the time. The riots were patient and surmised that the improvement is already centuries ahead in such a short time, even if the results were all over the place and made no sense at all. The riots also created a repository planet near the Leo Gateway planet in the other dimension. This allowed the new riots to get information on what the earlier riots have gone through so they do not waste time. The riots also created an AI at the other dimension to handle the information from the riot repository planet and transmit the same to our side of the gateway. The information is massive and the technologies were mostly more advanced than ours. The riots explained that the other dimensions are about 5,000 to 20,000 years more advanced than ours. We ended up creating a whole chain of science groups located in all the planets just to handle the information and make some sense out of them. Of course, our military scientists were in heaven. This information flow actually delayed our venture into the other dimensions. It makes sense since we have not really ventured outside of our borders. We do not yet have the mass to do so. Once we opened the gates for our entrepreneurs to make money off these technologies, there were surges in investments continuing to the present. This capitalistic concept of investment was adjusted to blend well with the cooperative concept of the Laos. The Bhull colony is the most technologically advanced colony among the species colonies. We had a cooperative entity that handles technology transfers, assess the cooperative compensation we should get and allows the technology transfer. The Bhull cooperative financial system is similar to the capitalistic system, but with one major difference. Trade is between people and the colony cooperative, which has thousands of cooperatives under it dealing with whatever. Colonists buy from one of the cooperative dealing with that item or sell any item to another cooperative dealing with that item. The cooperative have complete information on all its transactions. There were a class of items from the cooperatives that were free for all colonists, usually those concerning food, art and daily sustenance, and even some luxuries specific to the species. All surpluses were sold off colony by the cooperative. Sometimes these were sold to the Butts Empire by Butts in our colony, or to the human planets by humans in the colony, or to the loony homeworld by loonies. These are the only class of transactions that provided percentage compensation to the middleman by the cooperative. The colony have always had a surplus of farm produce, and these were sold to other colonies, whether they were near the Leo colonies or in the home world. We also have huge revenues from our sales of art, whatever they were. One of the major differences is how workers were paid. They were only paid half, not because they were working half the regular workload, but because the rates were so. Most of the workers come from outside colonies, and they resettle in the Bhull colony. There were no personal income taxes, or sales taxes, or real estate taxes for the settlers. The entrepreneurs were forced to bring in their own people because not all of the colonists want to work for them, and all work is voluntary cooperative work except that these were paid. Most colonists work in projects that pay a small stipend and they are still happy. A large portion of transfer or sales prices for off-colony transactions go to the colony government or the cooperative assigned to the transaction. These were reinvested for colony benefits, which were mostly investments on planet infrastructures, farming, art and schools. The TP platforms made transport very efficient and short. Again, the proceeds go to the colony cooperative government. Revenues from the TP platforms go exclusively to fund the Armada, and it was always more than enough. The main reason for this is that the TP platforms became mini colonies themselves. Some have multiple connected ships to the TP ships, and these added to the Armada revenues. As you can see, the Bhull colony became extremely rich because of technology transfer or controlled transfer. One Leo colony, not in the Bhull colony, became so rich because of diamonds and gold sales. We have these too, but resources were very low in our list to make money out of. One of the consequences of the Bhull colony's prosperity due to the technology transfer was the prosperity of the Butt Empire through the loonies. The Butts already love the loonies, and the free transfer of advanced technologies from the loonies themselves endeared the loonies even more. And they have yet to transfer the Bhull colony advanced techs to the Butts. Bidig and Miran planned the transfer. They figured that the existing loony tech were more than enough to make the Butt Empire prosperous in all their colonies. The loonies became even more rich with the new tech from the Bhull colony, and this prosperity they feed into shipbuilding. The Butts they employed were close to a quarter of their total population. This labor productivity increase was channeled to ship and weapons building. The human colonies were relegated to mining, supply of processed materials, and component manufacturing. The most popular product line of the loonies was the drone transformer ship. This was actually a loony practical joke on Matt's foray into shipbuilding and to answer John's challenge to build bigger ships. They presented him with a huge ship 3 times the size of a large space station. It was almost round, and they surprised Matt and John when the whole ship exploded into more than 2,000 large drones that was literally teleported to a formation or into or beside enemy ships so they can attack the enemy ships. A large sphere is left, and surrounding the sphere were ball mines that were also teleported near or inside the ships. What remains divides and transforms into 100 oblong metallic cores that creates a plasma shield in front of the core and hurls itself to collide with the largest enemy ships. In the Federation of Earth Planets, Matt created factories to build huge mining TPs in several huge ships the size of space stations. One of these is enough to mine one whole planet. Mining alone made up 70% of all Federation revenues, while tech sales account for 20%. This created a jump in the colony population. New Earth channeled its prosperity to building ships and military equipment and advanced weapons. Half of the colony planets were geared to this industry. This resulted in huge migration from Earth since it was the nearest group of Earth planets. While the growth in planet Olympus was steady but slow, the Federation grew to a total of 1.5 billion people in all Federation planets.